Deep beneath the surface of Luna, in chambers carved from solid rock and shielded by meters of metal, the most important meeting in human history was about to begin. The year was 2387, and for 3 centuries, humanity had been living the greatest lie ever told. While alien civilizations across the galaxy dismissed Earth's children as primitive creatures barely capable of reaching their own moon, humans had quietly spread to 47 star systems, built invisible cities, and created a fleet that could challenge any power in known space. Alex Rivera adjusted his neural interface as he prepared to address the Shadow Council. As commander of the stealth vessel Phantom's Edge, he had spent the last 15 years watching alien civilizations go about their daily business, never knowing that human eyes observed their every move. The irony never got old. The reptilian. Hegemony considered humans too stupid to master faster-than-light travel. Yet Alex's ship could slip past their most advanced sensors without raising so much as a digital whisper. The council chamber itself was a testament to human ingenuity and deception. Holographic displays showed the positions of every major alien fleet in the galaxy, updated in real time by a network of spy satellites and hidden monitoring stations that the aliens couldn't even imagine existed. Trade routes, military exercises, diplomatic communications, technological developments. All of it flowed through this room, processed by the finest minds humanity had ever produced. Maya Okafor entered the chamber carrying a sealed data cylinder, her excitement barely contained. For 5 years, she had worked in the hidden research station orbiting neutron star XJ447, a location so inhospitable that no alien species had ever bothered to investigate it properly. Her team had finally cracked the mystery of hegemony jump. Drive technology not by stealing it, but by understanding it better than its creators did. The implications were staggering. Human ships could now travel farther and faster than any vessel in the known galaxy. General Tom Hassan reviewed the latest reports from Training World 7, a planet that officially didn't exist, hidden in a nebula that blocked most scanning attempts. It housed the largest military installation in human space. 50,000 soldiers trained there with weapons that combined human innovation with alien technology, creating hybrid systems that surpassed anything currently deployed by galactic powers. These weren't just human weapons with alien parts bolted on. They were entirely new classes of equipment that could only exist because humans understood both technologies completely. The genius of the Great Concealment lay not just in hiding human expansion, but in the careful management of what aliens were allowed to discover. Every few decades, humanity would accidentally reveal some minor technological advancement to alien observers. A slightly improved fusion reactor here, a marginally better communication system there. Just enough progress to seem natural for a developing species, but never enough to suggest the truth. Meanwhile, the real human civilization grew in the shadows, protected by stealth technology that made entire planets invisible to alien sensors. Rivera activated the central display, showing the current disposition of alien forces. The Crystalline Collective had 3 major fleets patrolling their border regions, completely unaware that human observation posts tracked their every movement from inside the nebulae they used as navigational markers. The gas-dwelling Confederation thought their atmospheric cities were impregnable, not knowing that human atmospheric processors could easily handle their environmental conditions. And the hegemony, proud of their military might, had no idea that humans had been inside their shipyards, studying their construction techniques and identifying every weakness in their designs. Dr. Maya Okafor placed her data cylinder into the central reader and activated the presentation. The breakthrough was more significant than anyone had dared hope. Not only had her team reverse-engineered alien FTL technology, they had improved it. Human ships could now traverse the galaxy in weeks rather than months, giving them a mobility advantage that no alien power possessed. More importantly, The improved drives produced a completely different energy signature, one that alien sensors weren't programmed to recognize. Human ships could travel openly through alien space, and their hosts would never know they were there. Hassan's military reports painted an equally impressive picture. Human soldiers weren't just trained to fight aliens. They were trained to fight like aliens, using captured equipment and understanding alien tactics better than the aliens themselves. When the time came to reveal humanity's true nature, these forces would be ready to demonstrate capabilities that would shock the galaxy into recognition. The element of surprise would be total and devastating. The Shadow Council's primary concern had always been timing. Too early, and humanity might face a united galaxy before they were ready. Too late, and some accident might reveal their presence prematurely, catching them unprepared for the consequences. Every decision required careful balance between expansion and concealment, between preparation and patience. Lunabase itself represented the pinnacle of this balancing act. To alien sensors, Earth's moon appeared exactly as it should, a lifeless rock with some minor mining operations on the surface. Below ground, the truth was radically different. Thousands of people worked in facilities that rivaled anything built by advanced alien civilizations, coordinating an empire that spanned dozens of star systems. Environmental systems maintained perfect conditions, while manufacturing centers produced technologies that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Rivera's latest patrol reports confirmed what everyone in the chamber already knew. The aliens were becoming complacent. Their ancient conflicts continued without resolution. Their technologies advanced slowly, and their attention remained focused on each other rather than the wider galaxy. It was the perfect environment for human expansion, and they had exploited it masterfully. The meeting concluded with updated assignments and deployment schedules. Maya would return to her research station to begin the next phase of technological development. Hassan would oversee the activation of 3 new training facilities on worlds that existed only in classified databases. Rivera would take his ship deeper into alien space, gathering intelligence that would prove crucial when humanity finally stepped out of the shadows. As they prepared to leave, each council member understood their role in maintaining the greatest secret in galactic history. Humanity had risen not through conquest or alliance, but through patience, intelligence, and the careful application of technologies that their enemies couldn't imagine. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn what humans were truly capable of achieving. Ben Walsh never expected his routine maintenance shift to change the course of galactic history. The mining complex on Kepler 442c operated with mechanical precision, its automated systems extracting valuable minerals from deep beneath the planet's surface while maintaining the perfect illusion of a dead world. For 12 years, he had serviced these machines without incident, confident that human stealth technology made detection impossible. The planet itself was humanity's masterpiece of camouflage. To any alien sensor sweep, Kepler 442c appeared exactly as nature had made it, barren, lifeless, and utterly uninteresting. Beneath that deception lay one of humanity's most productive resource extraction facilities, feeding raw materials to hidden shipyards and research stations across human space. The operation was so sophisticated that even the waste heat from the massive excavation equipment was channeled through underground systems to prevent thermal signatures that might betray their presence. Walsh descended into excavation chamber 12, carrying his standard diagnostic equipment and expecting another quiet day of routine checks. The chamber stretched for kilometers in every direction, filled with automated mining robots that worked with inhuman precision. These machines represented the cutting edge of human engineering, combining alien computational techniques with human innovation to create systems that could operate continuously for decades without supervision. Something was wrong with Robot Unit 847. Its excavation patterns had become erratic overnight, deviating from programmed routes in ways that suggested either mechanical failure or software corruption. Walsh approached the machine with practiced confidence, running through the standard diagnostic procedures that had solved similar problems hundreds of times before. The robot's systems appeared normal, but its behavior remained unpredictable. As Walsh worked, he remained unaware that his routine maintenance had disturbed something that had been sleeping beneath the planet's crust for millennia. Archive Unit 7 had been placed there by a species known only as the Architects, ancient beings who had vanished from the galaxy long before current civilizations achieved spaceflight. Their technology was subtle, designed to remain dormant until specific conditions were met. The disturbance caused by Robot Unit 847's erratic digging had triggered sensors that the Architects had embedded deep in the planet's core. These sensors detected energy patterns that indicated advanced technological activity far exceeding what should be possible for the system's known inhabitants. Archive Unit 7 began its activation sequence, systems coming online for the first time in over 10,000 years. Linda Park monitored the facility's operations from the central control room, her attention focused on production schedules and equipment efficiency reports. She noticed the anomalous readings from Excavation Chamber 12 but initially attributed them to Ben's maintenance work. It wasn't until the quantum entanglement communication array registered an unauthorized transmission burst that she realized something catastrophic was happening. The transmission lasted only seconds, but those seconds contained enough data to expose humanity's greatest secret. Archive Unit 7 had scanned the entire mining complex with sensors that could penetrate any stealth system ever devised. Population estimates, technological assessments, detailed structural analyses, energy consumption patterns, all of it compressed into quantum-encrypted packets and broadcast simultaneously to receivers throughout the galaxy. Park's fingers flew across her control interface as she attempted to trace the transmission source. The readings made no sense. The energy signature wasn't human, wasn't alien, wasn't anything in their databases of known technologies. Yet somehow, something buried deep beneath the planet's surface had managed to scan their most secure facility and transmit that information to destinations across known space. Walsh received Park's emergency transmission just as he discovered the source of Robot Unit 847's malfunction. The machine had been excavating in response to signals from something buried far below the planned mining depth. Following those signals led him to a chamber that shouldn't exist, containing technology that predated every known civilization in the galaxy. Archive Unit 7 sat in the center of the chamber, its ancient systems humming with power that could only come from sources beyond current understanding. The probe was beautiful in its alien simplicity. Crystalline components grew from metallic substrates in patterns that suggested both organic growth and precise engineering. Its surface reflected no light, yet somehow remained perfectly visible, creating optical effects that hurt to look at directly. Most disturbing of all, the device seemed to be studying him with the same intensity that he was studying it. Admiral Kate Sterling received the emergency alert aboard her flagship Silent Thunder while conducting fleet exercises in the Vega system. The message was brief but terrifying. Unknown alien technology had activated on Kepler 442c and transmitted classified information to multiple destinations across the galaxy. The Great Concealment, humanity's most carefully guarded secret, had been compromised by something they didn't understand and couldn't control. Sterling ordered immediate deployment of emergency protocols that had been planned for this exact scenario. Stealth ships rushed toward every major alien system, ready to monitor reactions and provide early warning of military responses. Concealed bases across human space began activating defensive systems that hadn't been tested since their construction. Most importantly, the Shadow Council convened an emergency session to address humanity's first existential crisis in 3 centuries. The probe continued its work even as human technicians attempted to understand its purpose. Archive Unit 7 was designed to activate when it detected signs of a species achieving significant technological advancement while maintaining deceptive practices toward their galactic neighbors. The architects had built these devices as safeguards, ensuring that no civilization could achieve dominance through secrecy and misdirection. Walsh worked frantically to understand the device's functions, hoping to find some way to recall or neutralize its transmissions. The probe's technology operated on principles that human science could barely comprehend, utilizing quantum effects and dimensional manipulations that suggested mastery of physical laws that remained theoretical to current civilizations. Every attempt to interface with its systems resulted in additional data bursts, as if the device was designed to resist tampering. Park coordinated the facility's emergency response while monitoring alien communication networks for signs of reaction. The wait was agony. Depending on the recipients of Archive Unit 7's transmissions, humanity might have minutes or hours before alien forces began moving in response to the intelligence they had received. Every second that passed without detected activity was both a relief and an increasing source of anxiety. The implications of the discovery extended far beyond the immediate threat to human security. Archive Unit 7's existence suggested that other ancient monitoring devices might be scattered throughout the galaxy, watching and waiting for signs of technological development or deceptive behavior. Humanity's expansion might have triggered other sensors, creating a cascade of revelations that could expose civilizations that had been hiding even longer than humans. As reports flowed in from across human space, the scope of the disaster became clear. Archive Unit 7's transmissions had reached every major alien power simultaneously, providing them with identical intelligence about human capabilities and deceits. For the first time in galactic history, the traditionally fractious alien civilizations had access to information that could unite them against a common threat. The probe had not only ended humanity's secrecy, it had created the conditions for their potential destruction. Ambassador Vell had seen many strange things during his centuries of diplomatic service, but nothing had prepared him for the data packet that materialized in his private chamber aboard the Hegemony flagship Dominance. The quantum-encrypted transmission bypassed every security system the reptilian species had ever devised, appearing directly on his personal terminal with authorization codes that predated the current galactic calendar. The contents were impossible to believe. Detailed scans of human settlements that shouldn't exist, technical specifications for ships that surpassed hegemony designs, and most shocking of all, evidence that the primitive mammals from the Sol system had been watching alien civilizations for centuries. The intelligence showed human observation posts positioned throughout hegemony space, gathering data with technology that made their most advanced surveillance systems look like primitive toys. Vell's scaled hands trembled as he forwarded the data to the High Command. His species prided itself on military superiority and tactical awareness. Yet these scans suggested they had been blind to a civilization that had been studying them like specimens in a laboratory. The humans they had dismissed as barely capable of interplanetary travel possessed starships that could travel undetected through the heart of hegemony territory. On the crystalline world of Nexus Prime, the collective's hive mind experienced something approaching confusion for the first time in millennia. The shared consciousness that connected billions of crystal beings struggled to process information that contradicted everything they thought they knew about galactic civilization. Archive Unit 7's transmission had reached their quantum communication network directly, bypassing individual minds and speaking straight to the collective intelligence that governed their species. The data showed human research stations positioned within their own star systems, hidden so effectively that collective sensors had registered them as natural phenomena. Worse, the intelligence suggested that humans had been studying crystalline technology and social structures for generations, understanding their civilization better than they understood themselves. The implications were staggering. If humans could remain hidden within collective space, what else might be lurking in the galaxy undetected? Elder Node 447 processed the data streams flowing through the collective consciousness, attempting to understand how such massive deception had remained undetected for so long. The humans had achieved something that should have been impossible. They had hidden an entire interstellar civilization from species with technology that could scan individual atoms across light years of distance. The methods they used weren't just advanced, they represented an entirely different approach to stealth technology. Prime Minister Kayla floated in the methane clouds of her atmospheric office, studying holographic displays that seemed to mock everything the Confederation thought they knew about galactic politics. Her gas-dwelling species had always considered themselves the most sophisticated observers in known space, their distributed society and advanced sensors making them ideal intelligence gatherers. Yet the data from Archive Unit 7 revealed that humans had been operating freely within Confederation space for decades. The intelligence showed human atmospheric processors capable of functioning in methane-rich environments, technology that shouldn't exist according to every assessment the Confederation had made of human capabilities. More disturbing were the population estimates, suggesting that humans had established hidden colonies on gas worlds throughout Confederation territory, places that should have been impossible for oxygen-breathing mammals to inhabit. Kayla activated secure channels to the other Confederation leaders, sharing the intelligence while struggling to comprehend its implications. Their species had survived and thrived by being observers rather than conquerors, maintaining detailed knowledge of every major civilization in the galaxy. The discovery that they had been observed in turn by a species they considered primitive challenged the fundamental assumptions that governed Confederation society. Dr. James Wright had predicted this exact scenario in classified reports that most of the Shadow Council had dismissed as overly pessimistic. His xenopsychological studies had warned that discovery would likely unite the traditionally fractious alien powers against what they would perceive as an existential threat. As reports flowed in from human surveillance posts throughout the galaxy, his warnings proved prophetic with terrifying accuracy. The first sign came from the hegemony's military channels, which suddenly buzzed with activity as fleet commanders received orders to halt all current operations and return to designated rally points. Similar patterns emerged from collective and Confederation communications, suggesting coordinated responses despite the historical animosity between these civilizations. For the first time in recorded galactic history, the three major powers were setting aside their differences to address a common threat. Wright's psychological profiles had accurately predicted each species' likely response. The hegemony would view human deception as a military threat requiring immediate aggressive action. The collective would see it as a form of mental contamination that needed to be cleansed from the galaxy. The Confederation would interpret it as a violation of the natural order that demanded correction. Despite their different motivations, all three would reach the same conclusion. Humanity had to be contained or eliminated. Intelligence reports confirmed Wright's worst fears as alien. Diplomatic channels began carrying unprecedented levels of communication between the three powers. Messages that would normally take weeks to negotiate were being exchanged in hours, suggesting a level of cooperation that had never existed in galactic history. The shared threat of human deception was accomplishing what millennia of external pressure had failed to achieve. The speed of alien coordination surprised even Wright's pessimistic projections. Within hours of Archive Unit 7's transmission, the three powers had established joint communication protocols and begun sharing intelligence that they had previously guarded as state secrets. Hegemony military doctrine, collective sensor technology, and Confederation infiltration techniques were being combined into a coordinated response that could potentially overwhelm human defenses. Admiral Kate Sterling received continuous updates aboard Silent Thunder as the scope of the alien response became clear. Her stealth ships reported massive fleet movements throughout alien space, with forces that had been engaged in territorial disputes suddenly disengaging to focus on the newly revealed human threat. The traditional balance of power that had kept the galaxy stable for centuries was collapsing in response to humanity's exposed presence. Most concerning were the technical exchanges taking place between alien powers, the hegemony's advanced weapons. Technology was being shared with collective sensor networks, creating hybrid systems that could potentially penetrate human stealth technology. Confederation intelligence gathering techniques were being adapted to hegemony military doctrine, producing search strategies specifically designed to locate hidden human installations. Sterling's tactical analysts worked frantically to assess the changing situation, but the unprecedented cooperation between alien powers made accurate predictions impossible. Traditional models assumed that galactic civilizations would maintain their historical conflicts, even in the face of external threats. Archive Unit 7's revelation had shattered those assumptions, creating a unified response that no human strategist had seriously considered possible. The transformation was happening across the entire galaxy. Species that had maintained neutrality for centuries were being pressured to choose sides, with most deciding that the known quantities of traditional alien powers were preferable to the unknown capabilities of deceptive humans. Trade agreements, territorial disputes, and ancient grudges were being set aside in favor of the overwhelming priority of containing humanity's expansion. As the first day after Archive Unit 7's transmission ended, the galactic political landscape had changed beyond recognition. 3 centuries of careful human planning and gradual expansion had been undone in hours, replaced by a unified alien response that threatened to overwhelm even humanity's most optimistic defensive scenarios. The galaxy had awakened to humanity's presence, and their reaction was everything that the Shadow Council had hoped to avoid. The first shots of what historians would later call the Revelation War were fired at coordinates that humanity had prepared for this exact moment. The Alien Alliance's massive combined fleet arrived at the Proxima Centauri system, expecting to find humanity's primary research installation, instead discovering an elaborate deception that had taken decades to construct. The facility they attacked with overwhelming force was nothing more than sophisticated holographic projectors and automated systems designed to look important while containing absolutely nothing of value. Commander Lisa Adams watched the bombardment from her concealed observation post 15 light minutes away, recording every detail of the alien attack for later analysis. The three-power alliance had committed over 200 vessels to what they believed was a decisive first strike, revealing tactical doctrines and weapon capabilities that human intelligence had only speculated about. Their coordination was impressive, but not perfect. Centuries of mutual distrust couldn't be overcome in a matter of days. The real research stations were already gone, their personnel and critical data evacuated through hidden jump gates to secure locations deeper in human space. The evacuation had been completed within hours of Archive Unit 7's transmission, following protocols that had been refined through countless drills. By the time alien forces reached their targets, they found empty facilities that had been stripped of everything valuable except the equipment needed to maintain the deception. Adams activated her ship's stealth systems and began the long journey back to human space, carrying intelligence that would prove crucial in the battles to come. The aliens had revealed their hand with this first attack, showing how their combined technologies could be deployed and identifying the limitations of their unprecedented cooperation. Most importantly, they had demonstrated that they could be deceived, even when they thought they held every advantage. Commander David Chen's stealth destroyer Wraith encountered the second wave of alien forces near the Wolf 359 system, where a hegemony patrol fleet was searching for additional human installations. This engagement would be different from the empty victory at Proxima Centauri. These aliens would learn what humans could do when forced to fight openly for the first time in 3 centuries. The hegemony ships were powerful and numerous. Their crews experienced in combat against other alien species, but their opponents had spent generations studying their tactics, learning their weaknesses, and developing countermeasures for every weapon system they possessed. When Wraith decloaked directly behind the Hegemony flagship, its hybrid weapon, systems began demonstrating capabilities that no alien civilization had ever encountered. Chen's tactical display showed the battle unfolding exactly as human wargames had predicted. Hegemony shields were designed to stop directed energy weapons and kinetic projectiles, but they had no defense against the gravitational manipulation systems that human engineers had developed by combining alien technologies in ways their creators had never imagined. The flagship's hull crumpled as localized gravity fields compressed its armor beyond the breaking point. The other Hegemony vessels responded with disciplined formation tactics that might have been effective against conventional opponents. Humans who had observed their training exercises for decades and knew their standard responses to every possible threat, those tactics became predictable weaknesses to exploit. Wraith's sensor arrays had been specifically designed to counter Hegemony detection systems, making the human ship effectively invisible until it chose to attack. The battle lasted less than an hour, ending with 4 Hegemony vessels destroyed and the remainder retreating in confusion. But the victory came at a cost that Chen understood even as he celebrated his tactical success. Humanity's stealth advantage was now compromised. The aliens knew that human ships could appear anywhere without warning, and they would begin developing countermeasures immediately. President Maria Santos stood before the United Earth Assembly in an emergency session that would determine humanity's response to the greatest crisis in their history. The chamber was filled with representatives from every human world, their faces reflecting the gravity of decisions that could determine whether their species survived the next decade. The Great Concealment was over. Now they had to decide how. Humanity would face the galaxy openly. The debate was fierce and immediate. Military representatives argued for preemptive strikes against alien homeworlds, using humanity's intelligence advantages while they still possessed them. Diplomatic voices called for immediate contact attempts, hoping to negotiate before the situation deteriorated further. Economic advisors warned that open conflict would devastate the hidden infrastructure that supported human civilization across dozens of star systems. Santos listened to every argument while reviewing the classified reports that painted an increasingly desperate picture. Alien forces were mobilizing throughout the galaxy, their unprecedented cooperation creating military capabilities that exceeded the worst-case scenarios human planners had considered. Traditional hit-and-run tactics might win individual battles, but they couldn't defeat an enemy with virtually unlimited resources and production capacity. The president's decision reflected both pragmatism and hope. Humanity would reveal itself on its own terms, demonstrating capabilities that would force the aliens to reconsider their aggressive response while leaving room for diplomatic resolution. The message would be broadcast simultaneously from every human installation in the galaxy, making it impossible for alien forces to suppress or distort. Dr. Robert Kim received his appointment as humanity's first official ambassador to the galaxy while preparing for a role that no human had ever attempted. His xenological expertise made him the obvious choice, but expertise in studying aliens secretly was vastly different from negotiating with them openly. The message he would broadcast carried the hopes and fears of an entire species stepping out of the shadows for the first time. The broadcast itself was a masterpiece of psychological warfare disguised as diplomatic communication. Kim's message revealed not just humanity's technological capabilities, but the depth of their knowledge about every major alien civilization. Trade routes, military dispositions, political structures, cultural practices, details that demonstrated centuries of careful observation and analysis. The implicit threat was clear. Humanity knew where their enemies lived, worked, and played. Engineer Emma Foster led the massive conversion project that transformed humanity's hidden military installations into diplomatic facilities, preparing for contact scenarios that had been theoretical until Archive Unit 7's discovery. The work required incredible precision, Facilities designed for secrecy had to be modified for openness while maintaining their defensive capabilities. Every human installation needed to be ready to serve as either embassy or fortress, depending on how the aliens responded. The conversion work revealed the true scope of human achievement during the Great Concealment. Installations that aliens had never suspected existed were revealed to be larger and more sophisticated than anything the major powers had constructed. Industrial facilities that could produce entire fleets, research stations that had solved scientific problems their alien counterparts considered impossible, defensive systems that could protect entire star systems from attack. Commander Paul Anderson prepared his exploration fleet for humanity's first official deep space missions, carrying advanced terraforming equipment and massive construction vessels that demonstrated humanity's readiness to expand openly rather than secretly. The fleet represented a fundamental shift in human strategy, from hidden observers to active participants in galactic civilization. Anderson's ships carried more than just colonization equipment. They transported the infrastructure needed to establish humanity's first official trade relationships, diplomatic facilities, and cultural exchange programs. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humans were prepared to be partners or opponents, but they would no longer be ignored or underestimated. The immediate aftermath of humanity's revelation created chaos throughout alien space as civilizations struggled to reassess everything they thought they knew about galactic politics. Some species saw opportunity in aligning with the newly revealed power, while others doubled down on their commitment to containing human expansion. The galaxy's power structure was changing, and the final outcome remained uncertain. As the first phase of open contact began, Archive Unit 7 continued its ancient work in the depths of Kepler 442c, monitoring galactic civilization for signs of species achieving dominance through deception. Its makers, the mysterious architects, had built these safeguards to prevent any civilization from conquering the galaxy through stealth and misdirection. In breaking humanity's silence, the machine may have saved the galaxy from a shadow empire. But it had also ensured that humanity's future would be earned through strength rather than secrecy. 6 months after Archive Unit 7 shattered humanity's greatest secret, Ambassador Robert Kim stood in what had once been a hidden military command center, now converted into the galaxy's most sophisticated diplomatic facility. The transformation was complete. Walls that had once displayed tactical information about alien weaknesses now showed trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. The war that many had expected never fully materialized, replaced instead by a complex dance of negotiation and strategic positioning that was reshaping galactic civilization. Kim's morning briefing revealed the continuing evolution of humanity's position in galactic politics. The initial alien response of unified aggression had begun to fracture as smaller species recognized the opportunity that humanity's emergence represented. The traditional balance between the three major powers, the hegemony, collective, and confederation, had been maintained for centuries through fear and inertia. Humanity offered these lesser civilizations something they had never possessed: a viable alternative to perpetual subservience. The first major diplomatic breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. The peaceful trading civilization known as the Wanderers had approached human representatives within days of Kim's initial broadcast, offering detailed intelligence about alien political structures in exchange for access to human technology. Their nomadic fleets had observed galactic civilization for millennia without being recognized as a significant power, making them ideal intermediaries for species wary of direct contact with humans. Emma Foster supervised the final modifications to humanity's newest diplomatic station, built in orbit around a neutral world that no major power claimed. The facility represented everything humanity had learned about combining alien technologies in ways their creators had never imagined. Shields that could deflect any known weapon protected chambers where beings with incompatible atmospheric requirements could meet safely. Translation systems decoded not just language, but cultural context, preventing the misunderstandings that had started wars between less prepared species. The station's most impressive feature was its completely open design. Unlike the hidden facilities that had housed human civilization for 3 centuries, every system was visible and comprehensible to alien observers. The message was clear. Humanity had nothing left to hide and everything to offer through honest cooperation. The transparency was itself a form of diplomatic pressure, challenging other species to match human openness or explain why they could not. Commander Paul Anderson's exploration fleet had become the visible symbol of humanity's new relationship with the galaxy. His massive vessels carried terraforming equipment and construction systems that could transform lifeless worlds into thriving colonies within months rather than years. More importantly, they carried the personnel and resources needed to establish genuine partnerships with species that had been ignored or exploited by the traditional powers for centuries. Anderson's latest mission took him to the Fringe Worlds, a collection of systems inhabited by species too small or weak to influence galactic politics. These civilizations had survived by avoiding the attention of major powers, developing unique technologies and cultural practices in isolation. Humanity's arrival offered them something unprecedented, the protection and resources needed to participate in galactic civilization as equals rather than subjects. The response from smaller species had exceeded humanity's most optimistic projections. Dozens of civilizations that had maintained neutrality for centuries were now actively seeking human partnership, drawn by the promise of technological advancement and protection from traditional exploitation. The galaxy's power structure was shifting as previously ignored voices found themselves courted by a species that valued knowledge and cooperation over conquest and domination. Maya Okafor's research teams worked openly for the first time in their careers, sharing discoveries that had been classified for decades while learning from alien scientists who brought entirely different perspectives to universal problems. The collaboration was producing breakthroughs that neither human nor alien researchers could have achieved alone, suggesting that the galaxy's greatest discoveries lay not in competition, but in cooperation. Her latest project involved Archive, Unit 7 itself, which continued to operate in the depths of Kepler 442c despite human attempts to understand its purpose. The probe had revealed tantalizing hints about its creators, the mysterious architects who had vanished from the galaxy long before current civilizations achieved spaceflight. Their technology operated on principles that challenged fundamental assumptions about physics, suggesting that the galaxy still held secrets that no current species fully understood. The architect's legacy was scattered throughout the galaxy in the form of similar monitoring devices, most still dormant, but potentially capable of activation under the right circumstances. Each probe was designed to respond to different triggers: technological advancement, aggressive expansion, environmental destruction, or other behaviors that suggested a species might threaten galactic stability. Humanity's emergence had been just one small part of an ancient safeguard system designed to maintain balance through revelation rather than destruction. Intelligence reports from across human space painted a picture of gradual but fundamental change in galactic civilization. The 3 major powers were struggling to adapt to a situation where their traditional advantages, military might, technological superiority, and political influence, were being challenged by a species that understood their weaknesses better than they understood themselves. Their attempts to maintain dominance through traditional means were failing as smaller species found alternatives in human partnership. The hegemony's military doctrine was proving particularly vulnerable to the new galactic environment. Their strategies were built around intimidating opponents with superior firepower and tactical coordination. But these advantages meant nothing when facing enemies who had studied their methods for centuries and developed specific countermeasures. Worse, Their aggressive posture was driving potential allies toward humanity, exactly the opposite of their intended effect. The collective's hive mind approach was struggling with the concept of cooperation between truly independent species. Their society was built around shared consciousness and unified purpose, making them poorly equipped to understand or counter the voluntary associations that humanity was building with other civilizations. They could comprehend conquest or submission, but not the complex partnerships that were becoming humanity's signature diplomatic tool. The Confederation's sophisticated intelligence networks were finding themselves outmatched by human information, systems that had been designed specifically to penetrate their methods. Their traditional advantage in gathering and analyzing intelligence was meaningless when facing opponents who possessed better information and understood its implications more clearly. Their distributed decision-making process was too slow to respond effectively to rapidly changing circumstances. General Tom Hassan observed the final training exercises on worlds that were no longer secret, watching human soldiers practice alongside alien partners in scenarios that would have been impossible to imagine just months earlier. The military threat that had seemed so overwhelming in the immediate aftermath of Archive Unit 7's revelation was dissipating as traditional alliances fractured and new partnerships emerged. The exercises demonstrated capabilities that went far, beyond anything the major powers had expected from humanity. Soldiers trained in environments that replicated every known alien homeworld, using equipment that combined the best features of multiple technological traditions, supported by logistics systems that could supply operations across galactic distances. Most importantly, they were trained to fight alongside alien allies whose capabilities complemented human strengths and compensated for human weaknesses. President Santos reviewed the latest diplomatic reports while preparing for humanity's first appearance at the Galactic Council, a ceremonial body that had never held real power but was now becoming a forum for genuine political change. Her speech would mark humanity's formal entry into galactic politics, but more importantly, it would announce the new coalition of species that had chosen cooperation over traditional power structures. The coalition represented more than diplomatic success. It was proof that the galaxy's smaller civilizations could organize effectively when given proper leadership and support. Species that had been rivals for centuries were working together on projects that benefited all participants, sharing technologies and resources in ways that the major powers had never permitted. The economic and scientific benefits were already visible, with breakthrough discoveries emerging from collaborative research programs that no single species could have achieved alone. Santos understood that her speech would determine whether humanity's emergence led to lasting peace or eventual conflict. The major powers were still formidable opponents with vast resources and advanced technologies, but their traditional methods of maintaining control were failing. They could choose to adapt to the new galactic environment or attempt to restore the old order through force. Either choice would have consequences that extended far beyond Earth's solar system. The transformation of galactic civilization was most visible in trade relationships that had remained static for millennia. Traditional patterns of resource extraction and technological dependence were being replaced by genuine partnerships where all participants benefited from cooperation. Human innovations in manufacturing and logistics were allowing smaller species to achieve economic independence for the first time, fundamentally altering the power dynamics that had kept them subservient to major civilizations. Archive Unit 7's role in these changes had become a subject of intense study among human xenoarchaeologists who were beginning to understand the architect's true purpose. The ancient species hadn't simply built monitoring devices. They had created a system designed to prevent any single civilization from achieving galactic dominance through deception or aggression. Each probe was programmed to activate when specific conditions were met, ensuring that hidden empires would be revealed before they could threaten the galaxy's overall stability. The probe's transmission had done more than expose humanity's secrets. It had triggered a cascade of revelations that were still unfolding throughout the galaxy. Other species that had been practicing their own forms of deception were being forced into the open, creating opportunities for diplomatic contact between civilizations that had been hidden from each other for centuries. The galaxy was becoming more transparent and interconnected than it had been since the architect's own era. Kim's diplomatic missions were revealing the true scope of galactic civilization, far more complex and diverse than anyone had previously understood. Hundreds of species had maintained low profiles to avoid attracting attention from the major powers, developing unique technologies and cultural practices in isolation. These hidden civilizations were now emerging to participate in the new galactic order that humanity's revelation had made possible. The success of human diplomacy was built on more than technological capabilities or military strength. It was founded on genuine respect for other species and recognition that diversity was a source of strength rather than weakness. Human negotiators approached each species as potential partners rather than subjects, seeking to understand their needs and offer solutions that benefited all participants. This approach contrasted sharply with traditional alien diplomacy, which was based on dominance and subordination. Anderson's exploration fleets were discovering that the galaxy was far larger and more populated than official surveys had indicated. Entire regions had been deliberately omitted from major power databases to prevent interference with their inhabitants. These forgotten worlds often possessed technologies or resources that could benefit the entire galaxy, but they had been isolated by fear of exploitation or conquest. The new era of open exploration was revealing wonders that had been hidden for millennia. Ancient ruins that predated current civilizations, naturally occurring phenomena that defied current scientific understanding, and evidence of extinct species whose achievements exceeded anything currently known. The galaxy was full of mysteries that could only be solved through cooperation between multiple species with different perspectives and capabilities. The economic implications of humanity's emergence were reshaping trade relationships throughout the galaxy. Human manufacturing techniques could produce goods of unprecedented quality and complexity, while human logistics systems could deliver them to any destination faster and more efficiently than traditional methods. More importantly, human economic philosophy was based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation, creating opportunities for prosperity that extended to all participants. Foster's engineering teams were working on projects that would have been impossible under the old galactic order. Massive construction efforts involving dozens of species, each contributing their unique capabilities to create something greater than any could achieve alone. Space stations that could house millions of beings from different environmental requirements, terraforming projects that could transform entire systems, transportation networks that could connect the galaxy's most distant regions. The old galactic order was crumbling as species that had been rivals for centuries discovered that cooperation offered greater benefits than conflict. Traditional boundaries were becoming irrelevant as beings from different civilizations worked together on shared projects. The fear and suspicion that had maintained separation for millennia were being replaced by curiosity and mutual respect. As the first anniversary of Archive Unit 7's revelation approached, the galaxy had been transformed beyond recognition. Humanity had not only survived the exposure of their greatest secret, they had used it as an opportunity to create a better future for all galactic civilization. The machine that had broken their silence had inadvertently given them the chance to break the silence of countless other species, creating a chorus of voices where once there had been only the commands of the powerful. The future remained uncertain, but it was filled with possibilities that no one could have imagined when humans first began their secret expansion among the stars. The galaxy had awakened to humanity's presence and discovered that the universe was far more interesting, diverse, and hopeful than anyone had dared to believe.